Ananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathamvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Isopanisad bhaktisashtri class. Yesterday we could not have the class because I was traveling. Actually, I wanted to have the class, but it got delayed, and by the time I reached my destination, it was already late afternoon. So we could not have it. Nonetheless, I think by this month end or maybe a week or so, we should be able to finish the syllabus. So today we are on Mantra 13. We finished Mantra 12 discussion. Today we'll take up Mantra 13. So what is the right Vidya and the right Upasana? The right Vidya was spoken in Mantras 9 to 11, and the right Upasana is spoken from 12 to 14. So in that, the first verse 12, right Upasana we have seen. And this is the second of the verses in the right Upasana. So let us recite this. Anyat evahu sambhavat, anyat ahur asambhavat, iti shushushumadhiranam yenastad vichichakshire. It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes. So here the definition of Sambhuti is given. Sambhavat. Sambhavat is Sambhuti only. So the cause of all causes is the absolute truth. So one result is obtained by worshipping the cause of all causes. and that another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. Anyat ahur asambhavat, asambhuti. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities. So here Srila Prabhupada translates Dhiranam as Prabhupada is from the undisturbed authorities. So Dhira is one who is not disturbed by the changes when the soul leaves the body. Who clearly explained it? Yenas tad vichi chakshire. So again, Sambhuti and Asambhuti have different meanings in different contexts. In the previous verse, if you remember, Mantra 12, one result, one will andam tama pravashati ya asambhuti upasate. Asambhuti they referring to the worship of the demigods. You'll enter into the darkest regions. And tato bhuya eva tamo ya sambhuti upasate. But those who worship the sambhuti also, they will enter into deeper darkness, it was mentioned. So there, Asambhuti referred to the worship of demigods, and Sambhuti referred to the so-called, understanding of the absolute truth. That is the impersonal understanding of the absolute truth, which is not the real understanding. So now, in this mantra also, we will see that Sambhuti and Asambhuti have different meanings. So we saw in mantra 12, Asambhuti referred to demigods and Sambhuti referred to the impersonal absolute truth. In mantra 13, anything other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Prabhupada is in his translation making it very clear, the supreme cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karana. That is the definition of the absolute truth. So anything other than the absolute truth. So this refers to both what is there in mantra 12 as Asambhuti and Sambhuti, the worship of the demigods and the worship of the impersonal Brahman. And one result is obtained by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone can think about any similar verse, because this is Isopanishads. Any similar verse where it is mentioned that one result is obtained by worshipping the demigods and one result is obtained by worshipping the Supreme Lord. Anywhere it is mentioned, any verse is there where there is a mention, something like this in the Gita? Anyone knows? Devotees have already finished the bhaktisashtri study of Gita, so they must be knowing. Any verses? Only one hand has been raised. Okay, what about all the bhaktisashtri students? They are not present today. What happened? Mohan Rupsham Prabhuji? Yes, Arti Mataji, which is the verse?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. Yeah, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the ones who worship me will come to me, who worship the demigods will go to their planets, and who worship the ghosts, they will.
Yeah, which verse is that? Which verse is that?
Sorry, Prabhuji, I'm unable to. The Sanskrit version. Bhutani
Yes.
yanti bhutebhyo deva.
Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrin yanti pritravrata, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti madhyajino pimam. So this is one reference. There is also another one in the 7th chapter, verse, I think, 23. Antavantu phalam tesham, tad bhavat alpamedasam, devan deva yajo yanti, mad bhakta yanti mamapi. Those who worship the devas, they will go to the planet of the demigods. Those who worship me will come to me. So these two verses we can quote. This is very similar to the theme of today's verse also. Yeah. Okay. So this is Mantra 13. Now let's go to the overview of Mantra 13. Prabhupada has a very long and lengthy purport, but of course it is simple and we will go through this purport. There are no much philosophical concepts also here which are to be discussed. So we will go through and see and try to extract very important points from the purport. So the first paragraph, Prabhupada focuses on dhira. Iti shushusha dhiranam. So dhira exposes folly of all path leads to the same goal. And then dhira teaches shastra. Different paths lead to different goals. So this is from paragraph 2 to 4. And then Prabhupada from paragraphs 5 to 8 speaks about how one should accept Krishna as Sambhavat. And if we accept, yes, Krishna is Sambhavat, then what happens? Like Arjuna, he killed his so-called relatives to satisfy Krishna. That is paragraph 9 and 10. If we don't accept, no, then instead of worshipping Krishna, we'll start worshipping people are my God or I am God. This is the result. You know, the tendency to worship is innate in the jiva. If you don't worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you will worship some cricket star or some movie star, or ultimately you will start worshipping yourself. So if you don't do that, then this is the result. So paragraph 11 and 12 Prabhupada speaks. And then hearing from Dhira helps one and all to attain perfection. Again, Prabhupada brings up that theme about the Dhira, how one should hear from the Dhira from paragraphs 13 to 16. So now let us take up paragraph 1 right now, because there is some important concept to be discussed, and then we will take up paragraphs 2 to 4. So who will read paragraph 1? Raise your hands. Who will read paragraph 1? Okay, Mohan Roop Sham Prabhuji. Yes, I will. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Purport by is Devan Gajasi Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The system of hearing from undisturbed authorities is approved in this mantra. Unless one hears from a bona fide acharya who is never disturbed by the changes of the material world, one cannot have the real key to transcendental knowledge. The bona fide spiritual master who has also heard from the Shruti mantras or Vedic knowledge from his undisturbed acharya never presents anything that is not mentioned in the Vedic literature. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.25, it is clearly said that those who worship the Pithas or forefathers attain the planets of the forefathers, that the gross materials who make plans to remain here stay in this world, and that the devotees of the Lord who worship none but Lord Krishna, the supreme cause of all causes, reach him in the spiritual sky. Here also in Sri Isopanisad, it is verified that one achieves different results by different modes of worship. If we worship the Supreme Lord, we will certainly reach him in his eternal abode. And if we worship demigods like the sun god or moon god, we can reach the respective planets without a doubt. And if we wish to remain on this wretched planet with our planning commissions and our stopgap political adjustments, we can certainly do that also. Very good.
So here Prabhupada speaks about, he focuses on iti shushma dhirana, that, you know, the hearing from undisturbed authorities is approved in this mantra. And Prabhupada says that, these dhiras are never disturbed by any changes in the material world. And unless you hear from such, you don't have the key to transcendental knowledge at all. And these spiritual masters have heard the Shruti mantras, Vedic knowledge from their undisturbed acharyas, dhiras. And Prabhupada is making a very, very important point, which is very important today, even for devotees, because sometimes devotees get carried away, and especially because of this videos which come on the YouTube or which go viral on the WhatsApp. Many so-called spiritual master speaking, some topic which looks very, charismatic. They present these topics, but never an Dhira will present anything that is not mentioned in the Vedic literature. You see any purport of Prabhupada, any statement Prabhupada speaks, you can back it up with a Vedic quotation. You can back it up with a Vedic quotation. So this is one of the most important criteria which has become very important today, even for devotees, because it has become nowadays a fashion that you come up with your own so-called realizations and make a very punching statement, and that might look nice and it might attract, but if it is not backed up by a Vedic authority, then it is of no value. And today there are a lot of so-called spiritual masters who are speaking, and many people are getting attracted, even devotees are getting attracted to that talks. And this is sad, but here it is very important. Prabhupada is saying a bona fide spiritual master never presents anything that is not mentioned in the Vedic literature. Any statement you make, you have to give a Vedic reference to your statement. You have to back it up with a quotation from the scripture. And Prabhupada here is again giving the quotation 9.25, and practically the entire verse, entire paragraph, he explains that. And if we wish to remain in this wretched planet with our planning commissions and stopgap political, we can do so. That's what Prabhupada says here. So let me see. Yeah, there is a very important concept with respect to it. Dhira exposes folly, all paths lead to the same goal. I think this will come when we discuss paragraphs 2 to 4. Let's go to paragraphs 2 to 4. Who will read paragraphs 2 to 4? Nitya Sevini Mataji, you can read?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Now here in authentic scriptures, it is said that one will ultimately reach the same goal by doing anything or worshipping anyone. Such foolish theories are offered by self-made spiritual masters who have no connection with parampara, the bona fide system of disciplic succession. The bona fide spiritual master cannot say that all paths lead to the same goal and that anyone can attain this goal by his own mode of worship of the demigods or of the supreme or whatever. Any common man can very easily understand that the person can reach his destination only when he was purchased a ticket for that destination. A person who has purchased a ticket for Calcutta can reach Calcutta, but not Bombay. But the so called spiritual masters say that any and all paths will take one to the supreme goal. Such mundane and compromising offers attract many foolish creatures who become puffed up with their manufactured methods of spiritual realization. The Vedic instructions, however, do not uphold them unless one has received knowledge from the bona fide spiritual master who is in the recognized line of disciplic succession. One cannot have the real thing as it is. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita 4.2. Prabhu, shall I read?
Yes, yes.
Evam parampara praptam imam rajo sayo vidu.
Raja Rishayo Vidu.
Raja. I'm reading from the mobile, Prabhu. That's Sa Kale Neha Mahata Yogo Nashta Parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it is the way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it appears to be lost.
When Lord Krishna, 3 and 4
Yes.
also you can read.
Okay. When Lord Krishna was present on this earth, The Bhakti Yoga principles defined in the Bhagavad Gita had become distorted. Therefore, the Lord had to re-establish the disciplic system, beginning with Arjuna, who was the most confidential friend and devotee of the Lord. The Lord clearly told Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita 4.3, that it was because Arjuna was his devotee and friend that he could understand the principles of Bhagavad Gita. In other words, only the Lord's devotee and friend can understand the Gita. This also means that only one who follows the path of Arjuna can understand the Bhagavad Gita.
Next
At
paragraph.
the, at, at the present moment, there are many interpreters and translators of this sublime dialogue who care nothing for the Lord Krishna or Arjuna. Such interpreters explain the verses of Bhagavad Gita in their own way and postulate all sorts of rubbish in the name of the Gita. Such interpreters believe neither in Sri Krishna, nor in his eternal abode. How then can they explain the Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah. So here in paragraphs 2 to 4, Prabhupada is establishing that theme that Veera expose the folly that all paths lead to the same goal. And nowhere in the authentic scriptures it is mentioned that one will reach the ultimate goal by worshipping anyone. You know, and this kind of foolish theories are given by self-made spiritual masters. So you can find today there are so-called very famous spiritual masters, so-called spiritual masters, who come up with some concocted mantra, and which is not bona fide, although it might be the name of God, Krishna or Rama or even Radharani. But that's not the bona fide mantra. The Shastras have given the Yuga Dharma and the Maha Mantra. It is in the Naradiya, Brahad Naradiya Purana, it is in the Kali Santana Upanishads. And the Acharyas gave that. But, the so-called spiritual masters, self-made spiritual masters, they don't have connection with the Parampara. They have not connected to the civilization. They come up with these things. And Prabhupada is giving a simple example that, it's common sense. You purchase a flight ticket from Dubai to Bombay, you will land up in Bombay. You will not land up in Delhi because you have purchased that kind of a ticket. So Prabhupada is giving this example. So as a counter to this example, sometimes these so-called spiritual masters or the Mayavadis say, oh, this example doesn't hold good. Because the destination Bombay or Delhi, they are part of this material world. The absolute is one, the absolute truth is everywhere. And the absolute truth being everywhere, this example doesn't hold good. So this is the reasoning they give, to this logical example what Prabhupada is giving. So what's your answer for this? How will you give a counter reply to this? Think about it. It makes sense, right? Prabhupada's example makes a lot of sense. You purchase a ticket to Bombay, you'll go to Bombay, you'll not go to Delhi. But their, counter reply is that, absolute truth, is not restricted to any of these material realms like Bombay or Delhi. The absolute truth is everywhere. So that's why by worshipping any mode, you will reach to that same absolute truth. So what is your counter reply to this? Why you're all got stuck, right? You're caught up. What is the answer, Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji?
Answer is, and there is one more also comment also, Prabhuji, like we say them each Devi Devadas is Angas of the Supreme Lord. They say, okay, if I'm reaching to the Devi Devada also, so we are reaching to the one part of Anga of the Supreme God. This also one comment came recently, the destination.
Okay, let us deal with that, but first let us deal with my question. What is the answer for this? How do you counter this one? Anyone else? What are your thoughts about it? Prabhupada was asked this question, and let us now go to the slides. Okay. So Prabhupada quoted this 9.25. One person asked Srila Prabhupada in university that in one verse in Bhagavad Gita, I don't know, Krishna says that whatever you do, you come back to me. He said, whatever you want, you do. Then Prabhupada gave a very sarcastic reply. Srila Prabhupada said, then why did Krishna speak the Bhagavad Gita? So there is no need to speak the Bhagavad Gita. If you want to do whatever you want to do, and ultimately you'll reach the Lord, then there was no need to speak the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada gave a reply. Krishna uses the tool of contrasting statement in Bhagavad Gita. So in many places in the Bhagavad Gita, you'll come to these contrasting statements. 3.31 and 32, 4.39 and 40, 16.23 and 24. Yah Shastra Vidhim Usrujya Vartate Kamakarata. Tasmat Shastra Pramanam Karya Karya Vyavasto. If you do according to Shastra, this is the result. If you don't do according to Shastra, this will be the result. In 3.30, what is 3.30? I'm not able to recollect. Okay. So let's see 3.30, very famous. Mai sarvani karmani sanyas adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasa vigata jvara. So do all activities for me with a renounced spirit in a consciousness that I am Atma, and nirashir, without any desire, nirmama, free from false ego, and yuddhasva, fight, vigata jvara, give up your laziness. So if you do this, ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti mama shraddhavano anusuyante muchyante tepi karmi, you will become free from the bondage of karma. If you don't do this, ye tu etad abhyasanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvagyanam imudam stan viddhi nashtana chetasa. This is the result if you don't. So Krishna teaches by contrast. If anything you do, you will ultimately lead to the Lord, then the Lord need not speak the Gita. So that was a beautiful argument Prabhupada gave. So 16.23 and 24 I've quoted. One disregards this scripturals and acts according to his whims, neither perfection, nor happiness, nor supreme destination. Therefore, tasmat shastra pramanam te karya karya vyavastito. And then you can be gradually elevated. So Krishna clearly is giving the differences of paths. So there are, if you follow this path, this will be the result. If you follow this path, this will be this. And the similar principle is here in the Isopanishads. Further, and Krishna clearly establishes bhakti as the highest. Ashtanga Yoga to Bhakti 6.46 to 6.47. Tasmat Yogi Bhavarjuna, he says. And then Yoginam Api Sarvesham. Gyan to Bhakti 7.16 to 19. Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamati Sahamatma Sudurlabha. Karm to Bhakti 3.26 to 3.36. And all doubts cleared, he says, Sarvadharman Parityajya. So Krishna is giving all these paths, and how ultimately the highest path is the path of the. Now we'll come to that very interesting example Prabhupada says. Srila Prabhupada gives example of train ticket. I can't go to Chennai with a Calcutta ticket. Mayavadis say that God is not limited. God is not a limited place like Calcutta or Chennai. So wherever you go, you will come to God. So this is their answer, reply. Srila Prabhupada says, sorry, not I should not be here. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mayavadis say that the taste of sex, holy name, and liquor is Brahman. Ultimately, whatever pleasure we get is Brahman. That is true. But point is whether it helps us to realize Brahman. So Mayavadis, they want to equate everything to the same. So they are Prabhupada is this sarcastically commenting in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the taste of sex, the taste of holy name, and taste of liquor is all Brahman. But the point is, by tasting liquor, will it help us to realize Brahman? So even beauty of Bollywood star is Krishna's beauty, but does it bring us closer to realize God? It is a vibhuti of Krishna, but does it take us towards Krishna or takes it us away from Krishna? If we just say that the absolute truth is everywhere and everything, then no need of classification of goodness, passion, etc. But Bhagavad Gita and all scriptures give the classification. So the absolute truth is everywhere and everything, then there is no classification required. But then why does Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita so much emphasizes on classification according to the modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance? This analogy is not the absolute truth, but to illustrate the path to the absolute truth. If a person lives morally and immorally, there are different consequences. So obviously, certain behaviors will take us closer to God and other won't. Other won't take us towards God. Others won't take us towards God. So if we look at logic, God may be everywhere, but we cannot realize his presence everywhere equally. Everything beautiful may come from Krishna, but everything doesn't take us to Krishna. One has to accept that all paths don't lead to same goal. So this is the logical answer. Okay, so paragraphs 2 to 4 is discussed. Now we'll have to come to paragraphs 5 onwards. So the theme in paragraph 5 is accept Krishna as Sambhavat. But before that, there's one important point which I want to bring up. In the purport, Prabhupada spoke about, yes, yeah, 1 minute. Let me. Yeah. So, okay, I'm sharing the screen. So, Prabhupada in the purport brings up this point that the so-called spiritual masters manufacture some new path, and this attracts the foolish creatures and these new methods of spiritual realization. But if you want the real thing, you have to come in the parampara. And during Krishna's time, please remember, this is during Krishna's time, Sa Kalena Mahata Yoga Nashta Parantapa. This is the power of time, Kal. That Kal destroys everything. Even the pure teachings which are coming in the parampara get lost with the passage of time. And Prabhupada is mentioning in the course of time succession of Bekon. And that's why Krishna had to re-establish the parampara with Arjuna. And then Prabhupada brings out this. At the present moment, there are many interpreters. So this I will take up. But I would like to point out to one purport of Srila Prabhupada to again this 4.2. Because in 4.2 purport, Prabhupada says that there are many innumerable interpretations by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, although they make a good business of the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demonic because demons don't believe in God but simply enjoy the property of God. This is Ravana mentality. And then please hear this statement, what Prabhupada is saying, and please answer. Since there is a great need of an edition of Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara, disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time. So, about whom is Prabhupada speaking here in the purport? About whom Prabhupada is speaking here? Since there is a great need of an edition of Gita. About whom is Prabhupada speaking here? Anyone? It's very simple. Lata Mataji.
Lord
Yes,
Krishna, Prabhu. People who have not accepted Lord Krishna as absolute truth.
No. You have to carefully read this statement. There is a great need of an edition of Gita in English as it is received by the Parampara system. An attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. So Prabhupada is speaking about what? Yes, Arti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, all the Vedic scriptures, they were not written in English, and they were the ones who were written, what all were written, they were not authentic. So,
But whom is Prabhupada speaking about here? What is he
the
speaking? Huh?
the Mayavadis and the mundane
No.
scholars.
Prabhupada is not speaking about Mayavadis here. This statement, since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara disciplic system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. I don't know. We have to study Prabhupada purports very carefully. Yes, Sivani
Maybe
Mataji. Yes, tell me, Arti Matu.
maybe not all the Gitas that are written are coming in Parampara.
Yes, Nitya Sivani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, is it for devotees, Prabhu? Speaking about Gita.
Prabhu, Mataji, just think about this statement. Which Gita Prabhupada is speaking about here now?
There is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English as it is received by the Parampara.
And then read what is he saying.
Attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want.
So, about which Gita Prabhupada is speaking about? I don't know how you're not getting this simple thing.
Don't know.
Yes, there is one answer. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Prabhupada is speaking about himself here. Just like 5,000 years back, the parampara was lost and Krishna established it by speaking the Gita to Arjuna. After 5,000 years, by various interpretations, the original teachings were lost, and Srila Prabhupada established again the true teachings of the Gita as Krishna taught to Arjuna and re-established the parampara. So Prabhupada is speaking about his own glory here. Prabhupada is speaking about his own glory here. So please, study the Bhaktivedanta purports very, very carefully. So another point, what at the present moment, Prabhupada says there are many interpreters and translators of this sublime dialogue who care nothing of Lord Krishna or Arjuna. Such interpreters explain the verses of Bhagavad Gita in their own way and postulate all sort of rubbish in the name of Gita. Such interpreters neither believe in Sri Krishna nor in his eternal word. How then they can explain the Bhagavad Gita? So Prabhupada is making this point. Now Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, in his commentary on the Bhagavatam, he brings out a very interesting analogy. He says, just like Krishna, when he incarnates at scheduled times, it's like the sun and there is illumination on the earth. But when Krishna disappears, there is darkness. And the Puranas and Itihasas are like the night watchmen. They are like the night watchmen. Just like the night watchmen guard the wealth. But when it is dark, and these Puranas and Itihasas are supposed to guard, just like the watchman guards the wealth. And if the guards go to sleep, the Puranas and Itihasas go to sleep when they are misinterpreted by mental speculators. And the wealth is, just like the night watchman guards the wealth, the Puranas and Itihasas, which are like night watchmen, the wealth is the satisfaction of the heart. So the satisfaction of the heart, which is there, yenatma suprasiddhiti. What will happen? The people, their adharma prevails. And when adharma prevails, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So this was one of the questions asked by the sages of Naimisharanya, that Krishna Swadham upagate. Krishna has gone to his Swadham. Dharma and Jnana have gone. So where has Dharma taken shelter? So then the answer is there. Krishna Swadham upagate Dharma Jnana adibhise saha kalo nashta drishamesha Purana arko adunita. So there is another sun which has just arisen after Krishna departed. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. And the interpretations or the explanation given by the acharyas are like that night watchmen which don't sleep, and they will give satisfaction to the heart. So this is a beautiful analogy Vishwanath Chakra Thakur brings out in his commentary to the Bhagavatam. I just wanted to add this here. Okay, so now we'll go to the next paragraph, which is from 5 to 8, except Krishna is Sambhavat. But if you have any questions also, you're free to ask about the previous paragraph which we discussed. Otherwise, we can continue our discussion from paragraphs 5 to 8. So who will read 5 to 8? Lata Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
1 minute before with that, Rajeshwari Mataji has raised her hand. Rajeshwari Mataji, you have a question?
No, Prabhu, for reading only.
Reading. Okay, next. You can read. Next paragraphs you can read. Okay, Lata Mataji, you can continue. 5 to 8.
Krishna clearly says that only those who have lost their sense Krishna clearly says that only those who have lost their sense worship the demigods for planetary rewards. Bhagavad Gita 7.20 to 23. Ultimately, he advises that one give up all other ways and the modes of worship and fully surrender unto him alone. Bhagavad Gita 18.6. Only those who are cleansed of all sinful reaction can have such unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord. Others will continue hovering on the material platform with their paltry ways of worship and thus will be misled from the real path under the false impression that all paths lead to the same goal. In this mantra of Sri Isopanisad, the word Sambhavat, by worship of the Supreme Cause, is very significant.
Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and everything that exists has emanated from him. In Bhagavad Gita 10.8, the Lord says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts.
Okay, paragraph 5, 6, and 7. Okay, 7 also you'll have to read, Mataji.
Here is a correct description. Here is a correct description of the Supreme Lord given by the Lord himself. The word Sarvasya Prabhavaha indicate that Krishna is the creator of everyone, including Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And because these three principal deities of the material world are created by the Lord is the creator of all that exists in the material and spiritual worlds. In the Atharva Veda, Gopala Thapani Upanishad 1.24, it is similarly said, he who existed before the creation of Brahma and who enlightened Brahma with Vedic knowledge is Lord Sri Krishna. Similarly, the Narayana Upanishad states, then the Supreme Person Narayana desired to create desire to create all living beings. Thus from Narayana, Brahma was born. Narayana created all the Prajapatis. Narayana created Indra. Narayana created the 8 Vasus. Narayana created the 11 Rudras. Narayana created the 12 Adityas. Since Narayana is a plenary manifestation of Lord Krishna, Narayana and Krishna are one and the same. Narayana Upanishad also states, Devaki's son Krishna is the Supreme Lord. The identity of Narayana with the Supreme Cause has also been accepted and confirmed by Sripad Sankaracharya. Even though Shankara does not belong to the Vaishnava or a personalist cult. The Atharva Veda Maha Upanishad 1 also states, only Narayana existed in the beginning, when neither Brahma nor Shiva nor fire nor water nor stars nor sun nor moon existed. The Lord does not remain alone but creates as he desires. Krishna himself states in Moksha Dharma, I created the Prajapatis and the Rudras. They do not have complete knowledge of me because they are covered by my illusionary energy. It is also stated in Varaha Purana, Narayana is the supreme personality of Godhead, and from him the four-headed Brahma was manifested, as well as Rudra, who later became omniscient.
The last paragraph 8, you will have to read this. Conclusion, this is, thus, you can read this also, Mataji.
Thus, all the Vedic literature confirms that Narayana or Krishna is the cause of all causes. In the Brahma Samhita 5.1 also it is said that Supreme Lord is Sri Krishna Govinda, the delighter of every living being and the primeval cause of all causes. The really learned person know this from evidence given by the great sages and the Vedas, and thus they decide to worship Lord Krishna as all in all. Such persons are called Buddha or really learned because they worship only Krishna.
So here in these 3 paragraphs, paragraphs 5 to 8, if you see, the theme is Krishna is Sambhavat. And only those who have lost their sense, they worship the demigods for some, insignificant results, Prabhupada is saying there. And that's why Krishna ultimately advises that give up everything and surrender to me. And to come to this point of surrender is not easy. One should have complete faith. Isham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam nirvata. So sarva dharman parityajya, you have to come to this point. Mamekam means you should be cleansed of all sinful reactions and you should have complete faith, unflinching faith on the Supreme Lord. So the development of faith, when it achieves maturity, or when it achieves the peak pinnacle, when you have complete faith in the Lord, when you come to this point, then actually pure devotion begins from here. If you are doing your bhajan and you have doubt that maybe Krishna might not maintain me, Baba, I'll have to work to earn my livelihood. So you will work because you still don't have faith that Krishna will take care of you. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripaste tesham nityaviktanam yogakshema vahamyam. Krishna says that. So we don't have that level of faith. So it's a very, very elevated platform. Devotees should understand that to come to this point. And then Prabhupada gives the definition of Sambhavat, worship of the supreme cause. And he quotes Bhagavad Gita 10.8, which we had already quoted in Mantra 12, if you remember. Many quotations we gave of definition of Sambhavat. Janmadyasyata aham sarvasya pavo matta paratram nanyat. And Prabhupada is explaining here Sarvasya Prabhava. What is the meaning of Sarvasya Prabhava? That he create, everything emanates from me. So all the three murtis, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, all come from me. And Prabhupada is giving quotation after quotation. Gopal Upanishads, Narayan Upanishads, then Narayan Upanishads, then the Maha Upanishads, then the Varapuran. So you can see a bona fide spiritual master, always speaks based on the authority of the Vedic literature. Whereas a person who is not a bona fide spiritual master, he will not quote from Vedic literature. And you see how Prabhupada is expressing that here, or explaining the true meaning of a bona fide spiritual master. And then in this paragraph, the 8th paragraph, there is a conclusion that ultimately Narayan is the cause of all causes, and Prabhupada is quoting 5.1, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigra, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So, Aham Sarvasya Prabho, Matta Sarvam Pravartate, Iti Matva Bhajante Mam Buddha. So, such people are Buddha. So, Buddha with means they are intelligence, Bhava with heart, they Buddha Bhava Samandita, they worship me. So that is regarding paragraph 5 to 8. There's nothing much to be discussed in this. But if you have any questions, we can take. Now, if we accept Krishna as Sambhavat, yes, like Arjuna, he kills his so-called relatives to satisfy Krishna. That is paragraphs 9 to 10, which we will take up now. So who will read paragraphs 9 to 10? 9 and 10, who will read? It is Vrajeshwar Mataji. She has to read. Yes, Vrajeshwar Mataji. Vrajeshwar Priya Mataji. You can read.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
So,
The conviction that.
yeah, I'm just going to the book. The
Okay.
conviction that Krishna is all in all is established when one hears the transcendental message from the undisturbed Acharya with faith and love. One who has no faith in or love for Lord Krishna cannot be convinced of this simple truth. Those who are faithless are described in Bhagavad Gita 9.11 as mudhas, fool or asses. It is said that the mudhas deride the personality of Godhead because they do not have complete knowledge from the undisturbed Acharya. One who is disturbed by the whirlpool of material energy is not qualified to become an Acharya. Before hearing the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was disturbed by the material whirlpool, by his affection for his family, society, and community. Thus, Arjuna wanted to become a philanthropic, non-violent man of the world. But when he became Buddha, By hearing the Vedic knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Person, he changed his decision and became a worshipper of Lord Shri Krishna, who had himself arranged the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna worshipped the Lord by fighting with his so-called relatives, and in this way he became a pure devotee of the Lord. Such accomplishments are possible only when one worships the real Krishna and not some fabricated Krishna invented by foolish men who are without knowledge of the intricacies of the science of Krishna described in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam.
So here in these two paragraphs, if we accept Krishna as Sambhavat, yes, then like Arjuna, he killed all his relatives in order to satisfy Krishna. So the first thing, that's conviction that Krishna is everything comes by hearing from the undisturbed Acharya. And there are two ingredients. We should have faith and love for the Acharya. And Prabhupada, that's why he's saying that one who has no faith or love for the Acharya cannot accept these simple truths. And those who are faithless, on the other hand, again the contrast is brought out here. Avjananti ma muda manushim tanumashita param bhava ajananto mama bhuta maheshwara. So this is one symptom. The second symptom is that the Acharya is not disturbed by the whirlpool of the material energy. And Prabhupada gives example of Arjuna, who was actually disturbed by the whirlpool, material whirlpool, because of his affection for family, community, and friend. And suddenly he became, very compassionate, and he wanted to quit the battlefield of Kurukshetra. In fact, if you see from a worldly point, Arjuna quitting the battlefield of Kurukshetra based on compassion for all his family members would have actually made Arjuna more famous, the history, saying what a great sacrifice he did just to save his relatives. He did not fight. But that, from a worldly point, might be laudable. But from Krishna's point and spiritual point, it is Hridaya Daurbalya. It is a weakness of heart. And that's why when Arjuna ultimately surrenders to Krishna and hears the Bhagavad Gita, he became Buddha, and he fought with his own relatives and killed his own relatives, in fact, as devotional service to Krishna. So similarly, many times in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna addresses Krishna as Madhusudana. It comes in the first chapter, it comes in the second chapter, it comes in other chapters also. And there is a deep meaning to that address of Madhusudana. So why are you telling me to kill, my own relatives, O Madhusudana? You are Janardhan. You are the killer of Jana. You are the maintainer of the people, and Janardhana means also killer of all people. So you do that. Why are you telling me? So Arjuna had that bodily concept, me and my bodily expansions, because of bodily affection. And then in 2.1 also Madhusudan comes, the demon of misunderstanding between matter and spirit. And Krishna is now going to, give the right understanding. And then further, again, Madhusudan will come, that term. I don't recollect in which verses this term will come, Madhusudan. So, ultimately, we also have to kill this bodily concept of life, this affection for body and bodily expansions. Once Srila Prabhupada was sitting on his sofa, very relaxed like this, and all his disciples were there. And there was a photo of Krishna and Arjuna. And Prabhupada looked at the photo and said, to be with Krishna, have a picture with Krishna, Arjuna had to pay a huge price. He had to kill all his relatives. He had to kill all his relatives. So many times devotees or new people who come to our temples, they like to, take photos, selfies with themselves and the deities. But you have to pay a heavy price for it. You have to kill the bodily concept and the bodily relatives, So it doesn't mean that, you should become insensitive to them and, cut all the connections. It's basically cutting the connections from the material point and developing spiritual connections on a higher level. That is the point which I wanted to bring out. Okay, now, no. If you don't accept, no, people are my God or I am God. That will, what will prevail. So that is paragraphs 11 to 12. So let us see who is going to read now. 11 to 12. 11 to 12. Who will read? Anyone volunteers to read 11 to 12? Aarti Mataji, you can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Here, according to can start reading according to Vedanta Sutra. Oh, I've unmuted you, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Sorry, According to Vedanta Sutra, Sambhuta is the source of birth and sustenance, as well as the reservoir that remains after annihilation. Janmadasya yataha. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author, maintains that the source of all emanations is not like a dead stone, but is abhigna, or fully conscious. The primeval Lord Sri Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita 7.26 that he is fully conscious of past, present, and future, and that no one, including demigods such as Shiva and Brahma, knows him fully. Certainly, half-educated spiritual leaders who are disturbed by the tides of material existence cannot know him fully. They try to make some compromise by making the mass of humanity the object of worship. But they do not know that such worship is only a myth because the masses are imperfect. The attempt by these so-called spiritual leaders is something like pouring water on the leaves of a tree instead of the root. The natural process is to pour water on the root, but such disturbed leaders are more attracted to the leaves than the root. Despite their perpetually watering the leaves, however, everything dries up for want of nourishment. Thank you, Prabhuji.
No, next paragraph also you have to read. The Upanishads. The next paragraph also, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sri Isopanisad advises us to pour water on the root, the source of all generation. Worship of the mass of humanity by rendering bodily service, which can never be perfect, is less important than service to the soul. The soul is the root that generates different types of bodies according to the law of karma. To serve human beings by medical aid, social help, and educational facilities, while at the same time cutting the throats of poor animals in slaughterhouses, is no service to all. Service at all to the soul, the living being.
Okay, so here, if you don't accept Krishna as the Sambhavat, no. If you don't accept, then what happens? Krishna is Sambhavat. Prabhupada proves here, and again he quotes 111, which we had also quoted. And Krishna is not like a dead stone. He's abhigya, he's swarat, he's fully conscious, and he knows past, present, and future. Vedam samitetani, vartamani charjuna, bhavishyani cha bhutani, mam tu veda kashana. So Krishna knows everything, but so-called leaders, who are disturbed by the tides of material existence, they cannot know him. And they come up with this, what? They come up with, worshipping the masses. It's like pouring water on the leaves, but not on the root. This is what Prabhupada says. Worship of the mass of humanity by rendering bodily service can never be perfect. And Prabhupada brings out that, so-called medical help, social help, educational help, at the same time cutting the throats of the animals is no service of the soul. Whereas medical help, along with the body, mind, and the soul which is treated, that is Ishavasya principle. Social help in the form of, giving anna, especially prasad, because prasad not only nourishes the body, mind, but the soul also. Education facility, it's not just giving modern education on how to maintain the body, but there is education of the soul. Then that is following Isha principle. But only doing this at the same time cutting the throats of animals is no service to the soul. Prabhupada brings out that. So the last few paragraphs, Prabhupada speaks about 13 to 16. Hearing from Dhira helps one and all to attain perfection. So this, who will read this? Who will volunteer? Who has till now not read? Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji. Yes. You have a question, Prabhuji, or you want to read?
No, I want to read, Prabhuji, if nobody is there.
Yes, okay. One minute.
Yes.
This is paragraph 11 and 12. 11 and 12. So this is 11 and 12. This is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, maybe that is also part of this. That's what even the living being is perpetually suffering in different types of bodies from the miseries of birth, old age, and disease. The human form of life offers a chance to get out of this entanglement simply by re-establishing the lost relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. The Lord comes personally to teach this philosophy of surrender unto the Supreme, the Sambhuta. Real service to humanity is rendered when one teaches surrender to and worship of the Supreme Lord with full love and energy. That is the instruction of Sri Upanishad in this mantra. So this is part of this, the conclusion of these paragraphs, these two paragraphs also. So now you will have to go that the dhiras, hearing from the dhiras help one and all to attain perfection. Okay, you can continue now, Prabhuji.
The simple way to worship the Supreme Lord in this age of disturbance is to hear and chant about his great activities. The mental speculators, however, think that the activities of the Lord are imaginary. Therefore, they refrain from hearing of them and invent some word jugglery without any substance to divert the attention of the innocent masses of people. Instead of hearing of the activities of Lord Krishna, such pseudo spiritual masters advertise themselves by including their followers to sing about them. In modern times, to sing about them. In modern times, the number of such pretenders has increased considerably, and it has become a problem for the pure devotees of the Lord to save the masses of people from the unholy propaganda of these pretenders and pseudo incarnations. The Upanishads indirectly draw our attention to the primeval Lord, Sri Krishna. But the Bhagavad Gita, which is the summary of all the Upanishads, directly points to Sri Krishna. Therefore, one should hear about Krishna as he is by hearing from the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, one's mind will gradually be cleansed of all contaminated things. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17 says, by hearing of the activities of the Lord, the devotee draws the attention of the Lord. Thus, the Lord, being situated in the heart of every living being, helps the devotees by giving him proper directions. The Bhagavad Gita 10.10 confirms this. Dadami buddhi yogam tamyena mam upayanti te. The Lord's inner direction cleanses the devotee's heart of all contamination produced by the material modes of passion and ignorance. Non-devotees are under the sway of passion and ignorance. One who is in passion cannot become detached from material anchoring, and one who is in ignorance cannot know what he is or what the Lord is. Thus, when one is in passion or ignorance, there is no chance for self-realization. However much one may play the part of a religionist. For a devotee, the modes of passion and ignorance are removed by the grace of the Lord. Grace of the Lord. In this way, the devotee becomes situated in the quality of goodness, the sign of a perfect Brahmana. Anyone can qualify as a Brahmana if he follows the path of devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18 also says, Kirata Unandara Pulinda Pulkasa Abira Sumba Yavana
Ashadaya.
Ashadaya. Ye
Ye
Annecha.
necha papa yad apashaya ashraya shuddhyanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha.
Any low-born person can be purified by the guidance of a pure devotee of the Lord, for the Lord is extraordinarily powerful. When one attains Brahmanical qualifications, he becomes happy and enthusiastic to render devotional service to the Lord. Automatically, the signs of God is unveiled before him. By knowing the signs of God, one gradually becomes freed from material attachments, and one's doubtful mind becomes crystal clear by the grace of the Lord. One who attains this stage is a liberated soul and can see the Lord in every step of life. This is the perfection of a Sambhava, as described in this mantra of Sri Isopanisad.
Now, this is a very important theme in this paragraph. Prabhupada brings out that how to worship the Lord by hearing and chanting his glories, Shravanam Kirtanam. And the mental speculators, they avoid Shravanam Kirtanam of the Lord, but they want that, you sing my glories, And that's why, these so-called pseudo spiritual masters or pseudo incarnations have become a big headache for the pure devotees to save the masses of people. And Prabhupada says you do Shravanam Kirtan from the Gita or the Bhagavatam, because the Gita directly points out the absolute truth. The Upanishads indirectly point out, but the Gita, Krishna says, I am the Supreme Lord there, And hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or the Gita, what is the effect? Prabhupada brings out this very important verse. Shrunatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, here it is. Ridhantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. These abhadras in the form of Raja and Tama, which is situated Rajastamo Bhavera Sabhaye Acha Asudeva Katharuchi Nai Se Prasad. In the Markan Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is bringing out this. So when devotees hear very attentively the Katha of the Lord, when they hear attentively, the Lord's attention goes to the devotee. And the Lord who is situated in the heart removes the modes of passion, the effects of passion and ignorance in the heart. This is the contamination which is sitting in the hearts. And Prabhupada mentions how the mode of passion, there is constant hankering, ignorance, we don't know what is what. And as long as there is passion and ignorance, now please note down, this is for devotees. Prabhupada is not speaking about, others, the materialist. Of course, it applies to them also, but specifically we should see it as for devotees. As long as the modes of passion and ignorance are there, one cannot attain self-realization. Because the same verses series, if you go, what is the next verse? Nashta prayashu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati ittama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. When one attains naishtiki bhakti or comes to the state of nishtha, tada, that time, Rajastamo bhava kama lobhadasche cheteter anavidham stitvam sattve prasidati. They are situated in the mode of goodness. So if devotees don't come to the mode of goodness and attain Brahminical qualifications, Prabhupada is speaking about it. If devotees don't attain this Brahminical qualifications, still the modes of passion and ignorance are very prominent in the heart, then they cannot be happy. And nor can they be enthusiastic to render devotional service. So mark this, Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayate vidhyante hriday grantis chindante sarva samshaya. Chindante, evam prasanna. You cannot be happy. And you will not realize Bhagavad Tattva Vigyan. You will not have that Bhagavad Tattva Vigyan because still you are caught up in the modes. But at this point, Mukta Sangasya Jayate. And then Vidyante Hridaya Grantis, Chindante Sarva Samshaya, Shiyante Chaskana, Drishta Eva Atmanishware. So Prabhupada is quoting these verses here. All doubts, sub samshaya will be cleared by the grace of the Lord. And one will be liberated. And then Drishta Eva Atmanishware. This is perfection. So please study these series of verses from the Bhagavatam and apply these principles, because as long as the modes of passion and ignorance are there in the heart, one will not be able to, be enthusiastic, one will not be happy, and one will not be able to render devotional service. One will be able to render devotional service, but that will not be study. That is the point here. So that's the point Srila Prabhupada is making. And Prabhupada is quoting this. Anyone can become a Brahmana, even if he's a Kirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Sumba, Yavana, Kashadaya, and any others who are very sinful, Pasha, if they take shelter of the Lord, Shuddhanti, they can get purified. Prabha Vishnu, if they take shelter of the Lord and the pure spiritual master. So that's the point Prabhupada makes. Okay, any questions, any clarifications up till now? Any comments? Fine. So we will continue our discussion on Mantra 14 next week. Mantra 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 5 mantras are remaining. So we will require 6 classes. So we are speaking about 3 weeks. So within 3 weeks, we will finish the syllabus. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Upanishad ki Jai. Hare Krishna.